Welcome again to Francis West, and we're all things cyber. We're in the news, Francis. I was going to
Yes.
mention this at the end, but I think literally as we speak, news is coming in. Putin is kicking off, and we've had various events. And one of them, of course, was the electric power station.
Yeah.
Not a biggie, but it was off air for 4 days. Are we going to expect more of this?
Yeah, absolutely, Rodney. Again, first of all, I just wanted to say thank you for having me back. Very kind of you, but thank you. But to answer your question, 100% yes. And especially I want to share with the viewers or the listeners a website called Shodan.io. Have I ever told you about this website?
No, carry on.
So Shodan.io. It's a website that you can log on to. It's a public facing website. And you can create a free account and you can see all these industrial control systems and CCTV cameras and gaming consoles completely listed for anybody to look at and potentially to log into, because a lot of people do not change the default passwords on these industrial systems. They leave it at admin, admin, or admin and password, or admin and no password, which means it's just free. And then what this company does, or this website, they scan the planet every day and they find all these exposed systems. I mean, it's nuts. And the point is that people can then, they're making it so easy for the Russians to log in. Never mind, what about North Korea and the rest?
Well, it's scary, this. I'll tell you why, because, of course, it's not Russia per se. They give it to a third party. And we discussed this a bit last week. It goes to well, it used to go to the Ukrainians. They're pretty savvy in tech, but it goes to North Korea, it goes to Taiwan. Well, whoever will be a little naughty so that the Russians can say, well, it wasn't us. Of course it was.
No, of course, but I'm going to share with you something else. I don't know, can I share my screen? Is that okay? Or
Yeah, sure.
I want to show you something which will, I think, just need you to give me some. I'm going to share with the listeners something now, again, public facing website. So I'm going to share my screen one with you. You're going to love this. I haven't shown you this before, have I?
No.
So SonicWall is one of, we've been working with this company. They provide firewalls around the world. And wherever they've got their systems installed, they can see real time. I mean, it's out by about a minute. They can see attacks being launched around the world. Now, if you look at the moment, the most attacked or origin from attack is the United States, as we're sitting here speaking.
Yeah.
Second is Germany, third is Austria. Now, what they do, of course, is they log on remotely into these countries, and then they find exposed machines, and then they launch the attacks from within those countries. Number one. But what's more interesting for me is look at the most targeted attacked countries as we're sitting here speaking. The United Kingdom is the highest on the list, followed by India and then United States. And this gets updated by the second. Now, if you click at the middle here, you can also see the different types of attacks. But the only challenge with this website, which I always tell people, is that we can't see, obviously, we can't see China. We can't see because we don't have any of these firewalls installed there right now. But this gives people a real-time view on attacks happening right now.
And we can see the countries where it's coming from.
Yeah. It's good, isn't it? I'll
It's,
stop the share.
my goodness me. This is the future warfare then.
It is. No, not the future. It's here now.
Right. Understood.
It's here now. And again, people say to me, especially with businesses that we deal with mostly, they said that, well, what is the biggest challenge? And the biggest challenge from an attack vector perspective is always email. Something like between 91 to 94% of attacks coming via a single email. And people think because they're using Office 365 or Google Workspaces, they're protected. No, they're not protected. I tell you for a fact that they miss between 10 to 40% of attacks every single day. And then, Rodney, this is my favorite bit, is people say, oh, but we train our staff. And I said, that's nice. What, so you're going to train them how to spot a phishing attack that's just come from Russia or from North Korea? They're busy, they've got to cook food or they've got another client meeting coming up. Even if you train people all day long, you might as well throw the money in the bin. What you should rather do is invest that money that you spend on training on investing on prevention. Number one. Number two, where I do think training is brilliant is what I call process. So train your team or your staff on how to follow a process. So if even a legitimate email comes in to say, oh yeah, I've moved banks and please change my pays, put it into this account, then pick the phone up, phone people. Even in large companies, have a process training in place all the time. And that's what stops attacks, not spot a phishing attack. Just remove that problem.
Well, listen, when I've just had a nightmare situation when somebody bought me a new phone. It's the latest device. It's phenomenal. It's better than my computer. And okay, very nice. Thank you very much. But it's been a nightmare. And everybody says the same I talk to. Transferring a bank account from one phone to the other phone. Now, obviously, firewalls, everything comes. It's taken me 3 days.
What phone was it, Rodney? Was it an iPhone or Android?
It's an Android. Galaxy.
There you go. See, if you had an iPhone, it would have been much easier, I promise you. No, it's just, what the thing is, you said it already, the amount of technology that's built in a phone today is 10,000 times better than the first, Apollo that went to the moon. So you can imagine the complexity is getting a lot more, not a lot less. And people think, because it's easy to access stuff, it's, it should just be easy. But it's not, because it's got to do the bank, it's got to do WhatsApp, it's got to do all your passwords, it's got to do so many different things when you transfer.
What I'm saying to you is, are the banks going OTT? You can't do everything.
No, not at all. Because, and I'll give you an example. Talking about mobile phones, did I tell you about a friend of mine that her daughter went to Spain 2-3 months ago, and she was banking with, I'm trying to remember now, if it was Monzo, one of the other banks. Anyway, I'll tell you the short version, I promise. So basically, she was sitting outside a restaurant, and this young girl, they basically took her phone. And they took out the SIM, the physical SIM, and they put it into another phone. And guess what you've just done there? You've completely bypassed all the biometrics. And I'll explain why. So what they did was they obviously saw on the phone, on the screen, because she didn't lock it down properly, that she was with, I'm not saying it's Monzo, I'm just picking them as an example. They then downloaded the Monzo app on their phone with her SIM. And of course, guess what? All the 2FA codes were sent by a text to the SIM, not to the phone. So they then got the SIM the code. They then logged into a Monzo account and then emptied £10,000 from a savings account. So to answer your question, are people going over the top? No, not at all. The banks, they should have picked up, or they should have better technology to discover that this account is now sitting on a different device or different SIM.
Yep.
Now, for your listeners, I want to give them a top tip. And that is, did you know, on your phone, you've got a code that you've got to type in to get access, or your face or fingerprint. The same applies to a SIM. We call it a SIM pin. Now, what you could do is, here's a word of warning. If you do this wrong 3 times, you will brick your phone, and then you will have to phone them, and they'll have to unlock it, and that's painful. But this stops people from cloning your phone. It stops people from phoning, the call center says, I've just lost my phone. I bought a new phone. Can you please transfer it? It stops those attacks. And this happens a lot. It's called vishing. attacks. So by enabling your SIM PIN, the moment you try and put it into another phone, it'll ask you for that SIM PIN, which is 4 digits. And here's another red warning. You need to know that it's different for every provider. So for O2, it's 4 zeros. I think for Vodafone, it's 4 ones, or with others, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Point is that if you implement that, every time your phone does a reboot or update or you run out of power, it's a brilliant safety feature that stops people from remotely getting into your phones and then draining your bank accounts. Hopefully that's useful information.
It is, but you're saying 4 notes or 1, 2, 3, 4. That anybody can do that. And
yeah, but you've got, what you mean, to implement or to crack?
well, I mean, if it's not much brain power to get a non-sequential or a sequential 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the
I wouldn't
first
use that one. I wouldn't use that one, and I wouldn't use your year of birth either, Rodney, because that's easy to. But remember, you've only got 3 tries, and this is pretty difficult to unless you never write this number down. Of course, you've got to memorize it. And I'll tell you another funny story because I like to share and help protect people. And my son bought a car. It was about 3 years ago. And so we went to the VW garage, and as I'm sitting there waiting for him to buy his car, I said to the salesman, I said, do you know about SIM PIN? And he said, no, I've never heard of it. I said, well, open your phone up. So we set it up for him. 2 weeks later, he phones me up, Rodney. He says, Francis, I've locked myself out of my phone. I said, what do you mean? He says, I can't remember the SIM PIN. I said, well, I did warn you at the time that you've got to remember. I said, but luckily I've got a good memory. I remember it was your daughter's date of birth that you put in. I didn't know what the number was. He said, thank you so much. And he put it in on the phone, and he managed to get back into his phone.
Well, that's another thing that drives everybody mad. Oh, you can't write that number down. Well, if you've got 3 bank accounts well, you can have 100 apps, and you've got to think about, you've got to write it down.
No, you need to use what I call an enterprise password manager on it, because I like to keep my brain as empty as possible all the time, right? And the only way I can achieve that is by using very good security tools. And the thing is, so I use one of the services that we implement for our clients is the enterprise version of Keeper. Now, what Keeper does, it stores all these codes and all the passwords and all the login details inside a secure vault. And when you set it up, you provide the 3 security questions. You provide the 3 answers to those security questions. You've got your face, you've got your finger. And if you lose all that information, then yes, not even Keeper or us can recover your data. But then you'll never have to remember another password again. All you have to remember is a sentence. And that's your original, when you log on from a PC or Mac, you type in the sentence and then you log on. And that sentence, I can tell you for free, will take about between 1.5 to 2 sextillion years to crack. So if you just remember that one thing, you'll never have to remember anything again. And this is why, I always recommend people use these tools. Because I can't remember what I ate this morning for breakfast.
Well, who provides this? I mean, are these people secure? Would they ever go bankrupt and then the whole system falls down?
Well, good question. So, for instance, LastPass, okay, that's another competitor to ours. They've been breached several times. But the reason why they got breached is because of the way they store their data. So, in other words, if you save your password within their system, and let's say there's a rogue employee, they can actually look at the information. And I tell you what, the same goes for WhatsApp. I'll come back to WhatsApp for you. That's another story and a half. But with Keeper, and that's why we did a lot of due diligence before we picked a company. They've won the world competition for 7 years running now, and they work on a zero trust model. And like I alluded to you maybe 2 minutes ago, is that if you do not have the information that you use to start when you set it up originally, not even Keeper can get the data back because it's double encrypted. Every record is encrypted. The entire database is encrypted. So even if you have, so for instance, let's say you want to go and visit your mom's house and you want to log on to your password from her computer, you can't. because it now sees that you are logging in from a different system or different phone or different whatever. So you've got to then go through a whole lot of security, like with the banks, to be able to log back in. But if you log in just from one phone or one PC or Mac, then it remembers that as a safe place. But you still need to put in your two-factor authentication code in. You still need to put in your long password in, and or your obviously your email address. So from a zero trust perspective, I'm challenging people to try and hack it, because yet to see.
Passwords are a problem. And what do you recommend? I mean, people are now saying, oh, it's got to have 12 digits, it's got to have a capital, it has to have an asterisk or whatever.
There's a really funny sketch about that, which I wish I could remember. There's an English comedian that talks about passwords. It is so funny, but it's exactly the point that you're making. Now, I'm going to share my screen with you again, because I like to show people stuff. It's so much easier when you show people stuff compared to talking about it. So there's a brilliant website called, not this one. Yeah, no, this one. It's called security.org. And they use an algorithm to check how long it will take to crack your password. So if I typed in the word password, you can see it'll be hacked instantly. If I change it to a capital P, it'll take 22 minutes. I reckon it's overstated by 55%. So if I use password with 3 exclamation marks, it'll take 96 years. Problem is, all these passwords are ready for sale on the dark web. So to answer your question, my idea of a good password is this one. Let me pick one. So that password, which is my sentence, to log into my password manager, will take 300 sextillion years to crack. So I don't know how long that sentence is, but I would recommend a 20-digit random password.
Oh.
And that's how you fix the problem. Now, you can't remember that. So you need to have a very good password manager that does it for you. That's how you fix the problem. And now, talking about passwords, Rodney, do you know where the most unsafe place is to save a password?
Unsafe? Well, I suppose with your mobile phone. That's what a lot of people do.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I'm going to show you something in a minute. Now, the most unsafe place to save a password manager is in a browser, either Chrome browser or Edge or in Safari. Do you know that when we implement our password security solution, called Keeper, we move all those unsafe passwords into Keeper? How long do you think it takes us to get all those passwords?
Go on.
1 second.
Yes. 1
second. So the point is that if somebody can get onto your PC or your Mac or your iPhone or your Android, they can pretty much extract every single password immediately. So hence why, again, my advice is it needs to be in a secure vault. Because if it's in a secure vault, then they need to go through so many different layers.
Yeah.
A browser on any device is the most unsecure place to do anything, because it's mostly open. Now, there's ways around it, yes. You can implement, especially in Chrome and a few others, you can set up security to reduce your risk. But I would never. If you look in my browsers, you'll see there's one just that I use for demos, but I would never save a password. Now, the other thing I was going to share with you before I forget is, and this is maybe one of my top tips for today, is, and I'll pick iPhones because most people have iPhones apart from you, Rodney, is that if you go on your iPhone, and I challenge people to do it as they're speaking to this, and then just search for the word passwords. Up comes hopefully you've got your Face ID turned on, you authenticate, and then there's the 6 boxes on the screen. On the bottom left, the third from the top, there's one called security. And if you click on security, it'll tell you how many saved passwords you've got on your phone, and it will tell you how many have been compromised. Now, yesterday I was speaking to this guy on Teams, and he had 861 compromised passwords sitting on his iPhone, and he didn't even know.
Gosh.
So that number should obviously be zero. But and this feature's been there for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, and people didn't even know this exists. So when you log onto that screen, it'll show you all your reused passwords, shows you all the ones that have already been compromised. And the problem why people don't then deal with it, because they don't have a tool to make it easy for them to go and change the password. And again, that's why I keep on saying you need to use an enterprise password manager that can do it for you, normally within 3 clicks. That's how you fix this problem.
Well, hang on.
But,
cost. That could be a problem.
well, cost is, I mean, it's the one we do, including our support, is about £8 a month per person. And we give them 5 licenses for personal use. Do you know, it's nothing. I mean, it's just for the amount of time it saves you, I reckon between 15 to 20 minutes a day, because you'll never have, all you have to do is when you install it, and I can put a link to it if you want me to. Let me just find it, just so that if anybody's interested, they can speak to us. Here it is. I'll put it on the chat. Yeah, I'll put it in the chat if you want to look at it. And we do a full training. So we normally spend about an hour with each person. We transfer, we show them how to set up their 2-factor authentication codes. We show them how to set up secure folders. But the other thing, which for me is important, is that with every license people get from us, we give them 5 licenses to use for their personal use for free. And I think that's important, because now you can give one to your partner, one to your son, your daughter, maybe your mom or dad, and start getting this way of working, spread out over the entire family. Because then they'll save time and they'll know that they don't have compromised passwords. Because what we do, sorry, last thing I was going to say before I forget, is that the beauty about this system is it will pop up on your phone, on your PC. You only need 1 license per person. It'll pop up and tell you, listen, the Amazon has just been hacked, which has happened, or your what's the other one? Airbnb account was hacked. And that's not because of them. It's because the main company was done, and they don't tell anybody that they've been compromised. So the problem there, Rodney, is imagine you use the same password for your Airbnb and your Amazon account and your email account or your Outlook.com account. You're done. And that's why, when I say talk about passwords, which as you can see, I can talk for England, is that if you can remember a password, apart from the main one to log into your password manager, it's not strong enough. Simple as that. Because if I can remember it, then it's going to be much easier for a brute, what we call a brute force attacker, to decipher.
You mentioned rudely about my Android phone. I'll bring you up to date. Actually, it's just been announced that Galaxy have overtaken iPhone. There you go. You see, that's up to the minute news.
I believe you.
but
Rodney, I've spoken in front of that. Maybe it's more business people. I've spoken in front of thousands and thousands of business people, and every time I say, "Put your hand up if you use an iPhone," and on average, between 80 to 85% of people put their hands up. So I find it interesting that the figures show different. But my point is, in a business environment, I always see that Apple is by far the winner.
Well, is it more secure? It's more expensive. Is it more secure?
No, definitely not more secure. I mean, again, hence why we do mobile security for business, so for people and for companies. Because did you know there's something like 80,000 infected apps right now sitting on the Apple Store, the Google Store, the Microsoft Store, and they don't take them down. So people are downloading stuff, completely oblivious that they've now just downloaded and I can name them a few, that will harvest their data or worse, empty their bank accounts on their phones.
Do the banks stand for this, or do they say, the bank that is, do they say, no, it's your fault, you're not secure?
Wow, you see now that's an interesting debate. That might take us another session to discuss because I have a mixed view on this. My view is, okay, let's relate it back to a house. So you've got house insurance, right? But if you didn't protect your property properly enough and they break in, why should the insurance pay to recover your stolen goods or even a fire? So my logic here is if somebody gets a WhatsApp message or they get a text message that's infected and they click on it and they put their bank details in and they lose money, or worse, they lose all their data or their reputation, why should the banks give their money back?
Interesting. Listen, we'll save that for another day because time has gone. My goodness me, it flies by when we chat to you. Well, it's affecting everybody, this, isn't it? Everybody has got a PC. Well, most have a phone, but it's £8 a month to be secure
for your passwords. Yeah, it is. It's not expensive at all.
A cheap
Precisely, and that includes our support, and like I said, it includes us setting up. We charge a nominal fee to set it up, and that way, at least you know that all what I call your credentials and everything about you, is especially because the thing about keys, I always use keys. So why is it that if you took out your bunch of keys now, Rodney, I bet you'll find more than one key. You'll have one for the house, maybe one for the back door, maybe one for the office, one for the car, one for your daughter's house. But most people, when it comes to passwords, they use one key. And then they wonder why they get hacked. So the point here is invest in something like this and make sure that they're unique, make sure that they're not compromised, and then you can just enjoy your life.
Well, that's good. That's a good note to finish on. Thank you so much. You'll be back very shortly. Tons of questions again, as I said last time. I've got written down here too, out of about 20. So we'll be patient and wait for our next encounter. Thank you so much, Francis.
Huge pleasure, Rodney.